Hey.
Yeah, so we starting for real this time.
We back.
We back.
Another episode.
Another episode. Man, I'm loving the feedback we've been getting.
I love y'all out there. Thank y'all for supporting us.
For real. That's love for real.
We excited.
Yeah, I think we've had some good feedback. Things we want to get better with as we go.
We just getting started.
We're just getting started. You're right.
Let's get into it. Welcome to the Faith Unlimited podcast with your host, Marquita and
Darnell, a.k.a. DZ.
Yes.
And you got to make sure you remember DZ because we're going to have something coming out soon.
Yes, Lord. We got something coming soon. Y'all stay tuned.
Maybe, hopefully.
Maybe. We'll see. Look, I want to say, can I say this before we get started?
Go ahead.
I love y'all for real. Like, shout out to everybody that's listening to the podcast, that's giving feedback. We welcome feedback because we're trying to get better. Do me a favor. Make sure when you listen to the podcast, you rate the podcast. I know I normally say that at the end. I'm going to say it now because it's very important because that lets more people know that we're out here. If it's something that encouraged you or resonated with you, then you want to share it with other people. So, but I'm excited about the feedback. How you feel?
I feel real good about the feedback. I mean, yeah, good. And even the areas of opportunity, I'm not, I don't get offended. Like, so, yeah, I feel good about the feedback.
I think every week we're trying to see how can we grow, what can we add? Because, I mean, when you first start something, look, have some grace for yourself. If you out there starting something new, have some grace for yourself and just work on getting better every time. So that's what we're doing.
Yes. And I hope you all can hear it and feel it and see it.
Yeah.
We're going to try to work hard to get better every single time.
Every single time.
Is your phone on silent?
Yep. I think so. Silent mode, because I don't want nobody interrupting this pod.
And speaking of this pod, what are we talking about today?
What are we talking about today? We're talking about choosing the right church by faith, okay? Because we need the Lord to help us choose. Now, we dropped the episode, I hope y'all heard it, about building godly community. And so now
if you haven't heard it, go back.
Yes, if you haven't heard it, go back. This week we just gonna get into how to choose the right church by faith. I think that, man, church, I know since COVID, people are just not into church, going into the building anymore. But I just believe it's such an important part of our journey. Like, we need a church, but we need to be in the right church. We need to be in a church that God leads us to.
Right. And I think in response to the last episode or the episode that we did with the godly community, I think the first and easiest way to finding a godly community is finding a good church home. Yeah.
No, I agree 100%. That's been the biggest thing for us, especially moving, and not knowing anybody. I feel like we built a lot of relationships when we found our church home.
Yeah. And why is, I want to see if you can answer this, why is finding a good church home important?
So a couple of things. I think that just for our faith journey, we need to be in a place where we're going to be able to get the word and grow. I think, we can study the word at home, but it's nothing like, first of all, being in a building, being with other believers, getting the word and taking that, what you get on Sunday homes, to study and go over it. But I think that's one of the things. The community, of course, is another aspect of it.
It's a scripture. What was
Which
that
one?
scripture?
I think I got it.
The gathering.
Let us not. Okay, Hebrews 10:25.
Yes.
Let us not give up the habit of meeting together, as some are doing. Instead, let us encourage one another all the more, since the day of the Lord is coming near. That's a good one.
Yes, I think the Bible talks about just the different gatherings.
Yeah.
Nobody was at the crib watching it on YouTube.
No, they were together.
Yeah.
And they were being taught.
Yeah.
I believe that's in Acts. I would have to find out, but they were being taught. They were growing in their faith. They were sharing resources. They were building community.
Yeah. And now let me throw this disclaimer in there. I think just so that nobody is trying to fact check us and say, "Oh, they're not preaching the word." We're not preachers. This is a podcast.
We listen.
and we're gonna keep it real.
One thing
So,
I'm not is a preacher.
I might look up some scriptures while I'm talking if I can. If
Yeah.
not, I'm gonna say what I believe, and then before the end of the podcast,
Yep.
I'll try to give you the fact of the
Yep.
scripture that I was talking about. But we're not gonna act like we know all the scriptures and all that kind of stuff. We're gonna be real on this podcast.
We're really here to not preach at you, but to encourage you
Yeah,
based off of the growth in that we've experienced and how we feel like we've grown and the place that the local church had in our lives
Right.
and how it helped us become who we are.
yeah,
So we are here to encourage you. We're praying for y'all, praying, that y'all find where y'all need to be, but we're just here to encourage. We're not here to preach. I agree with what you said.
yeah. Go on to some of talk about briefly on some of our previous podcasts. But how when my family got to Georgia,
Yeah.
we found a good church home. After I was probably about 4 or 5, we got a good church home that became, like I said, our family.
Yeah.
And I think choosing the right church home is when you do choose the right church home, you'll know it because it'll feel like a family.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that even for you, going back to the episode that we talked about, we've been married 10 years now, and I was able to be a part, and I was a part of the church because we met at the church that you were a part of when you
Right.
guys moved here. You guys were like the first couple of families that were in the church. But I just look at how the local church played a huge part in your life just
Yeah.
by observing how you had been in the church playing the keys. They like really had you involved in doing things, and I think that kept you probably from getting in more trouble than you could have got in
For
because you were
sure.
super involved.
I think I was able to do everything that I could creatively there, as far as try everything. When I was trying to, when I was a Christian rapper, I got to do that there. When I was
Yeah,
singing, I got
that's
to do that
cool.
there. When I was start playing the drums, I got to do that there. When I started playing the key,
Yeah.
I got to do everything that I do there, and got to try out, and I got to fail, and I got to get in trouble. Like I got to do a lot.
And that, I think,
There.
just talking about that, and tell me if you agree, that is another, and we'll get into it more. I could be jumping ahead, but that's a big, even for Paris, our daughter, the local church is needed, especially for our kids.
For sure. Yeah, before we go down that rabbit hole,
Yeah.
I can guess we can give a little background on when we moved to a new town. So if you haven't noticed, our podcast are going to try to go in not in an order, but play off of each other.
Yeah.
So, we were talking about how to move to a town, or what was that last episode?
The community, godly community.
Godly community. And then the one before that?
There should have been use
10.
it or lose it is coming. It should have been dropped already.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there's the other one, 10 ways to leave your hometown.
Oh no, the leaving your home. Yes, benefits. The
Benefits.
of
There we
leaving
go.
your
Benefits of
hometown.
leaving your hometown. So when we finally left our hometown, we moved to a city. We didn't know anyone, and except that, the family. Shout out again, Clarence and Camicia.
Yes.
But we visited their church, and it really was. We didn't think that one was where we were supposed to be.
Yeah.
And so in total, we visited about 11 churches.
Man, let me tell you. Listen, let me tell you. It might have been 12 or 13 churches.
Yeah.
Maybe we was on. We knew we needed to
Yes.
be planted in a church. We were new in the city, but we had to be led to the one that was for us.
Right.
What was your what was the thing? Why did we have to go? Our experience, both of us liked something different
Yeah.
about every church that we went to.
Yeah. So for me, I think like just naturally a worshiper and in the music and in the production. And so I was always looking at that, and I was always looking at definitely the worship experience.
Yeah.
And some of them were like watching paint dry. Like seriously.
And we've had some, and look, we walked into some interesting places. I'm telling y'all.
Yeah. I did that one where when the pastor walked in, it kind of shut everything down, and it was literally Bible study, but his security was sitting on the front row.
Yeah, it was kind of
chair facing front, but he's turned around in the chair looking at everybody. That was just so uncomfortable.
So, I want to just say, like, on this journey of finding the right church, I think that it has to be by faith because God has to lead you. Because we could have, and there was some times, I don't know if you felt like that or not, but I was just like, you know what, this is too much. Like, it was just tiring every week trying to, and it's like, none of these places are working out, but don't give up on your church, like on your church
and that's
journey
the thing.
Of finding the right place to be.
And that's the thing. There's a lot of people that have church hurt or have this something against church. Like, I'll just watch online when I want to watch online. And literally, you can't. That's really not a good excuse. I mean, you have had a bad order at a restaurant and they make you stop eating at a restaurant.
Or listen, we had, I don't know about if I
bad
had bad relationships.
Yeah, exactly.
But and I want to say, let me just say to that, this is not for the people that were hurt in the church that were like violated.
Right.
Because there are some things that have happened. So I just want to but for those that are just like, didn't like what they said to me, or I didn't like how they was looking at me, or I didn't like, maybe that was not the place for you.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you don't have
That's
a place.
Good catch. Yeah. I'm not talking about the other case.
Well, because I've experienced, and when we talk about the church that we did find, we'll go into that, but I have experienced church hurt. So I'm not speaking from a place of I don't understand.
Right.
Because Darnell can attest to this. There was a time I didn't want to go to church no more.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this. This was out. Some things happened I felt were hurtful. But when God sent us to the right church, it was almost like the church hurt me, but then God sent me to a place where the church helped heal me.
Exactly. That's good.
And I didn't, and all that had happened, it was like a fresh start.
Right.
For me. So that's why I say don't give up on the search, because your place is out there. It might take a little bit longer because, like you said, we went to 11 and 12.
And I know my wife already covered me, but let me also say, this isn't for any like violations that's happened. When I say church hurt, I'm talking about like they didn't let me lead a song, or they didn't let me pray, or they didn't let me get on microphone, or like superficial things.
Yeah.
Like, go somewhere else then.
Sometimes we get offended. I've been places where I've been offended by something that somebody said, but the truth was it was my own personal issues.
Right.
It had nothing really to do with the person. They may have said something that triggered something in me that may be like, I don't want to be in this place no more.
Right.
But sometimes we have to check ourselves. And something you talk about all the time, which is what I'm learning, is being self-aware and saying maybe this was something, or I just need to be in another place. This place is not for me.
Right.
It doesn't mean I'm going to give up on church altogether.
Right. So there are reasons why we went to 11 different, and I love the fact that now that we tried 11 different churches, because we can, and then found the right one, because then we can say we've been there.
Yep.
I remember the one church we went to, and they said, lock the doors. Lock the doors. Ushers standing and lock the doors. We're about to teach everybody how to speak in tongues. Don't let nobody leave.
Scared.
And you were scared. And I was like, how we gonna leave?
How we gonna get out of here?
I said, I wish they would try to stop me.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Listen, the doors was closing, y'all. I was looking for my bag. It was just an experience. I was really scared.
Yeah, we really tried. We really tried. So a lot of places.
We did.
I'm trying to think what other ones we had that were kind of crazy. There weren't a whole lot like super crazy experiences,
Yeah, it
but
was just some stuff that you like. I was like, I don't like this, and
right.
some stuff I like. You like,
And then we had Paris. Paris around this time was probably like
yeah.
9-ish.
Paris,
And
Paris liked every church that had donuts and coffee.
every church that gave her something, or if she went to children's church and they gave her candy because she was new,
I
she
love
was
this.
like, I love this place. We're coming back here. Nah, no, there were some that felt like cliquish.
Mm-hmm.
There was
There's
like, nah.
and we told each other, we're like, when it's the right one that we both agree, we're gonna look at each other and we gonna head nod and
Yeah.
say, this is it. That's what we said literally at the beginning of our
Yeah.
search.
Yep. So literally, we went. So if you count 11, so that's about 15 weeks. Because some of them we gave them 2 tries.
Yeah.
So we went about 14, 15 weeks from when the time we moved there. We were determined to find a church once we got there, and so we couldn't find one after the first 15 weeks. And so I started. The friends that we moved in with said, "Hey, man, I know a lady that's a worship leader, and she needs a keyboard player." So we said, "You know what? We'll try that." And we went out, and it was out in
It was called Fountain Hills.
Fountain Hills. It was a church in Fountain Hills.
Yeah, and you were playing the
And
keys with
yes, and we went out to Fountain Hills, and it was something different.
It was different.
It was-
And I think it was cool for that season that we were in.
Yeah,
We got a chance to meet some people and stuff like that.
It was like a church plant from a
Yeah.
bigger church, and it was cool. It was good for a season. I think I played there for maybe 3 months, and then
We knew it was not going to be I felt like we knew it was not going to be a forever place. We knew it was going to be a season, I feel like.
I was gonna try.
Oh.
I was gonna try.
And that's it. I didn't know he was going to try.
So Fountain Hills, if you don't know, it is. Some people say it's derogatory. Some say it's not the term, but I'm gonna say it, and hopefully it doesn't take. I'm not trying to be offensive, but it's like a snowbird town, and so
It's not offensive.
that's what you say. But some people say it is.
Oh, sorry.
The
Sorry,
ones
some
that say
people.
it's offensive, no, but it pretty much that means people that move to Arizona to get away from their
Is the cold?
winters. Yeah, their winters are
Arizona's
brutal. So
very
like
warm.
brutal. So a lot of people from Minnesota, Chicago, it was a lot of those people. Summertime came, all the people at the church was gone. I remember we came back like, what in the
Because it was
world?
a lot of older people there
Yes.
too.
Yes, and it was definitely different. It was
Yeah.
definitely different for us. But I just remember they gave us off one weekend. I think it was
yeah.
like, I don't know if it was 4th of July weekend or something like
we
that.
went to visit.
And we went to go visit our church that we landed at, and we both looked at each other like, this
Yeah.
is it.
I literally remember sitting in our church, the last one that we visited, which is the one that we stayed. And it was a weekend. It wasn't a lot of preaching going on. I think it was like sharing what had happened throughout the year and all that stuff.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I literally remember having tears in my eyes because they had done so much
Yeah.
work in the community. And I looked at Darnell and we're like, this is it.
Yeah.
And so what
I forgot that part.
Yep.
Yeah, that was
they made
that.
me
Yeah.
cry. But the one thing that got me with this church, this is how I knew, y'all. It was the one. The second week we went back. And they're like, hey, Darnell. Hey, Marquita. Hey,
Yeah.
Paris. I was like, what?
Yes, it was
They
pretty crazy.
remembered our name?
It was pretty crazy. Yeah, it was something. It was something different. Like
Man.
the first time we came, the pastor was like, "Hey, where do you live?" I told him where I live. He's like, "Oh, this person lives. Where are you from?" And I told him where I'm from. He's like, "Oh, this person's from there too. I'm going to connect you with
connecting
them."
us immediately.
And they said, "Where do you live now?" I told him, like, "Oh, we're about to open a campus over there. Let me connect you with that campus pastor too." And like within a week, they were connecting me with
They
people.
were connected. And that next week we walked in, they do our name.
Yeah.
And it was like,
Yeah.
like God was like, this is it. Because it seems small.
Yeah.
But it actually is not, because it almost felt like you feel like I'm at home.
Yeah.
They know me.
Yeah.
And they don't know me.
Right.
But for them to remember my name was like our name. My family is like, that was big. I'm like, this our church.
And I guess let's I guess the word's preface with it's not a small church. At that location, it was
one of the
I
biggest
believe
churches.
it's 1,800 just in that location.
Yeah, it's the
They see
biggest church.
1,800 at that time. It was 4 services. End up going to 5 services. But yeah, it wasn't a small church. It
No.
was a nice sized church.
It was a very nice sized church.
Overall, it's a multi-site church, so they had several locations, and that was also enticing. When we did listen to the sermon, it seemed somewhere where we can learn. They had 3 different people on the speaking team, on the preaching team, and they all had 3 different styles.
Yep.
One was like super funny, humorous,
Yeah.
but really got into the word. The other one was like a Bible scholar. I really liked him, and the other one was the just an OG. He was an older
Yeah.
pastor, the lead pastor, who was also the founding pastor. I'm sorry. And he was just an OG. He was good. It was good. The overall experience was
It
just
felt
good.
like I knew it was going to be a place where I would be excited to invite other people.
Exactly.
And I knew they understand the message. It was plain. It was from the Bible, but it was a plain. It was, you could understand it. So I'm like, I can invite believers and non-believers here, and it not be a weird experience. And I think that was big for us too.
Yep. And so, yeah, I remember after that second time going, I believe, I was like, man, I got to quit playing at that church. And I'm not gonna lie, that church was also paying me to play, so I was a paid musician to play there. And I was like, yeah, I'll just miss out on that money. I feel like us having a good church home is more important than me making,
Yeah.
the extra money that at that time we needed. We needed the money, but I felt like
we needed both, though.
We needed our spiritual. We needed to be spiritually fed more than we needed the money.
Yeah, and it was a great. And I guess we could talk about too. I mean, so our search, like going back to our search was well worth it.
Yeah.
God led us to the place, and like I said, I had just come off of I don't want to go to church no more type thing. And so going to this place was like, man, this is home. These people are kind. They are genuine. They are connecting us. I wanted to get involved. Like, I just was like, jumped all in. And when I had a chance to sit back and think about, like, wow, God knew what I needed in that season. He knew what I had already been through, and he knew what I needed, and he sent what I needed.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the same for you when you find, God he knows what we need.
Yeah.
And where we've been and what we've been through, and he'll send us to the right place. But I think it's definitely praying and just being led there.
Yeah. I think a healthy thing to do when you're searching for a church or a new church, or when you're trying to get into church. Some people have never been into like going to church. I think you should definitely like list out and think about your non-negotiables. Mm-hmm. So like
a relationship, right?
Yeah, a non-negotiable for us. Do they preach out the word?
Yeah.
Do they preach out the Bible?
We need that because believe it or not, there are some places that don't.
Yeah, we're not looking for a motivational speech. We want somebody that's preaching out the Bible. Mm-hmm. Another one is like
small groups.
For us, are there small groups?
Yeah,
that's another big one for us. Especially if it's a big church, a big multi-site church. Mm-hmm. Small groups just make a big church feel smaller.
Yes,
because you have your community,
and I think you grow too. And we talked about that in the Finding Godly community, getting involved in small groups. You grow more. Like you want to, if you want to grow deeper and more and build community, that's going to be the way. Yeah. Another thing was kids ministry, teen ministry.
Yes. The next generation.
Mm-hmm, that's very important. It was top, of course, with the daughter. I didn't want her sitting in there with us every week.
Right.
Like we need somebody that's pouring into the kids.
Right. And it's not even just we don't want her sitting with us, but we want her to get, like you just said, we want her to get fed. We want her to enjoy going. Mm-hmm. She's learning something too.
Right. And I don't want to be distracted with her trying to, in church trying to watch her and like, because there's a message that's catered to her
Yeah.
age group. So yeah, I think that was definitely at the top of the list.
Didn't they send like that one? They sent us what she learned
Yes, and we could
in
so
a
that we
text
could
message
go
that we can
over
go
with her
over
during
with.
the week.
Yeah, which was so
I
cool.
wrote down something. Another thing that could possibly, the church that we were talking about that we were in, they did some research, and this is how they used to open their new campuses. They said that if a person had to drive more than 20 minutes away from their home to go to church, they wouldn't go every week. They might not go every week. And so if you can find something that is close to home, like less than 20 minutes away from home, so that you're not going far every week where it's like, I don't feel like driving, I ain't going to church
That's
today.
good.
So just finding something close so that you will be there consistently.
Yeah, I think in Georgia
Mm-hmm.
and Atlanta, where we were from, it doesn't seem like that there's a community church environment. It's like, no, you drive 30 minutes to your favorite church, or you'll drive 45 minutes to your favorite church. But out there, it seemed like everybody was like in that community.
Yeah.
Nobody was driving super far.
And that's how they would would do research and see how far people are driving and say, oh, these people are driving this far. They need a church in their community.
Yeah, and I think that just the culture, the culture,
different.
yeah, the culture was different. I think and how people was raised. Like, no, you go to what's close to you, and the options of what's close to you, and so it was just different. That was kind of cool to me.
Yeah, I just believe that, man, the local church is just important, and it's going to be important to your faith. I just don't think that, we can do this on our own.
Nah.
We can go so far. I think that you can go so far without being involved in church and not going every week or whatever, but you need to be in the building.
Yeah. I think another like topic I want to touch on a little bit is that the church that you choose, or the church that God has placed you, can be for a season.
Yes. Oh man, that's good.
It doesn't have to be forever.
That's
good.
good.
And there are some key indicators that I would think for you to know, should I still be here, or is this somewhere where I still should be going, should be attending?
Yeah, that's
and I
good.
think it's all on self. So just because a church is not the right church or in a certain season doesn't mean it won't be at another season.
Right.
Or vice versa. Just because you started somewhere doesn't mean that that's where you're gonna have to be forever.
Yeah.
Some churches do a really, really, really good job at getting people to Christ.
Yep.
Just like at the very beginning, they do really good with outreach. They do really good with hitting the streets. They do really good with getting people from not knowing Christ to walking with Christ.
Yep.
And then there's some that do a really good job at discipling people, like discipling once they've been
deeper.
in Christ. I'm growing them deeper. We're making true disciples. We're sending our people out to do big things, and we're making missionaries. We're making, you know what I mean.
The seasons are very important.
Yeah,
I think, and me and you have talked about this, but there are seasons when we're in school.
Yeah,
we not 20 years old still in kindergarten,
right?
You know what I mean? Like, there are going to be seasons. For me, the church I went to at the time was where I needed. I was coming from really the street. And like you said, it was a good place for me to learn the basics. It was a good place for me to get involved. I got baptized. But then after a while, that season in that place was up, because now I've been at this place, a season in my life long enough. I need deeper. Like, I know the basic stuff, but like, how can I get deeper in Christ? And so maybe this isn't the place, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like you said, it's about knowing you're doing self-checks. I think we should be doing self-checks. Am I growing here?
Yes.
Am I involved? Have I been at this place for so long?
Yes.
is it now time for me to lead in an area?
Right.
Right. I don't need just be an attender for
Exactly.
20, 30
Yeah.
years. How am I now pouring back into the next? So that's how like you got to do these self checks and see, is this church where I need to be in
Right.
this season? God is not upset. He's not mad. He wants you to grow and get closer to him. But I think sometimes we get comfortable because, and that's with anything, we got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable on a faith journey.
Yeah.
Because it's going to require us to shift and move and it's in order to grow. But yeah, like sometimes you're comfortable. If you've been in a place for so long, if you've been in a relationship for so long, we get comfortable.
Yeah.
It's time. Sometimes it's time to do those self checks and say, okay, I've been here for a while. Am I really growing?
Yes.
Am I changing? How has my life gotten better?
Right.
What else? Like, what am I doing? Or have I been in this same place too long?
Yes.
Then it's time to make some changes.
Do I go to sleep in church? Like there's a lot of there's a lot of factors. Like, do I go to sleep? Do I end up falling asleep a lot of times when I'm in church?
Yeah, because sometimes we just go.
And it's not even funny to say nobody's boring, but hey, you're not getting something.
Before I got serious and because before I got serious and gave my life to Christ for real, I would go to church. I would go to the club. Okay, I would come home by 5 a.m, go to bed, get up in time to go to church. It would not because I wanted to learn and I was so eager about getting in the building with other people. It was because this is just what we've done.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I'm used to doing. Sundays are for church.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you're from the South.
Yeah.
You going to church on Sunday. And you might go to church and leave. And like I used to do, I would go to church. I would sit in the back. I'd fall asleep. I would leave church, go hang out with my friends, and start my sinning cycle all over again because that's just something I did. It was like I was on autopilot. Like, you just go.
Yeah.
So but I wasn't growing. I wouldn't even say for real.
Yeah.
I just was sitting up in the building and checking my box. And, eventually I did. I got saved. Something was happening. The seed was being planted, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But I knew that, like I said, once I got saved, I was in a place for a while. And then I knew it was time to go because I needed to get deeper.
I work for a church now. I've worked for the local church for quite some time. Mm-hmm. For some time now. And one thing that we say where I am now is your growth is your responsibility.
Yeah.
And I want to say it like this: your faith is your responsibility.
Yes.
Your faith, your walk with God, that's all your responsibility. So going back to the church, like you can go to a church and fall asleep, and you can go to a church and not get anything, and they really are preaching the word.
Mm-hmm.
But you kind of need to go where you can connect. There is some kind of connection where the words that are being spoke are resonating with you. That pastor has a delivery that captivates you.
Yeah.
That at the end there's a charge or there's something that you want to you leave with something. There's a takeaway. There's something you want to work on for the week.
Yeah.
Like, what, I want to talk to this coworker that gets on my nerves. Or I want to pray for this. There's something. There's some kind of takeaway.
Yeah.
If you're not getting a takeaway, that's a problem too. You're in a stale place. If you're leaving. And the second you leave, you forgot everything that you learned.
Yeah.
Hey, that might not be the church for you.
Yeah, something's not connected.
Yeah.
Or we need to say, Lord, check my heart. Like, what's going on? Why am I not connected?
Yes.
I am so after I said earlier in the podcast that I've dealt with church hurt, I love the local church.
Yeah.
I believe in the local church, man. And I know, especially for those that are Christ followers,
mm-hmm.
Christ, the church is the light in our communities.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we go and I'm speaking for myself because there was a time when I was younger, where we were in need. We would go to the church. Mm-hmm. They've helped us pay our bills. They've helped us when we didn't have food. They've helped us, and so they're serving in the community. One thing I love, especially about our church now, when I tell you they are for the community,
Mm-hmm.
I mean classes and whatever, like support groups and all that stuff. That is what the local church is for. And that's
Yeah.
why, and it can't run by itself. We got to get back in there.
Yeah.
Like if we have a heart for God and we love God, that means we love people. That means we got to support people.
Yeah.
And we got to get in position to help other people. And that's what I think that's what the local church does.
Yeah, I think one church we went to that was so cool. They had a job fair every Tuesday.
Yes.
They had small groups. They had all kind of stuff. The church I go to now, they have a little. They do a thing where teaching single moms how to change their own oil.
Man,
Like
that's
kinda,
what we need.
Yeah.
And if you got ideas, take them to your local church.
Yeah.
And because these things are needed. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're a Christ follower, at some point you needed something from the local church. You know, you needed something. And so it's just important. And I know, like, I'm not saying no church is perfect.
No.
There, in anything, I think that there are bad apples in anything. Like there are some people that in every situation that can spoil it for others.
Yeah.
So there are some places out there that's like not the best places. You know, we'll get into that in another podcast. But there are some churches. No church is perfect, but there are some churches I understand that are not utilizing resources and are not doing the right thing. And God will deal with those churches.
100%.
He'll deal with those churches. I think we need to be more focused on not those churches, but finding the churches that are for us.
Right.
Finding where God is sending us and not being so focused on the other stuff. Because again, like you said, my faith is my responsibility.
Yeah. So literally going back to that, how it switched in faith, we went to that other church and was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to stop playing keys there because I really want us to go to this church as a family. And there was an opportunity because they did Saturday and Sunday service. Like, well, maybe we can go on Saturdays and I can still play at the other church. But I didn't even want to make the extra drive. Like I was like, no, I want to be so engulfed. Like I want to just go ahead in for this other church. And so I was dreading, like, man, they didn't have a keys player for a while, and like I do love playing there, but how am I going to tell them that I don't want to play there no more, or that I can't play there no more? And then you was like, well, you can give them 2 week notice. I said, you know what? I'm gonna give them 2 month notice. I'll play for 2 more months, and then we could transition. I call the worship leader and say, or she actually calls me. I don't even call her. She calls me and says, hey, Darnell, do you have anything at the church in Fountain Hills? I was like, no, why? She was like, well, something happened and they just disbanded.
I mean, out of the blue, it's like, what?
I was like, what?
But God was setting us up to be able to.
Yeah.
And because you were so concerned, like, with playing, and God was like, I got something else for you.
It was the craziest thing.
It was like, we was just there 2 weeks ago. Now the church gone? What happened?
It was the crazy. And let me put it at ease. It wasn't any kind of craziness with no scandal or anything like that. The pastor did have a son who had some mental struggles, and
I think he needed to take some time.
He needed to take some time, and I guess along with 75% of the church not coming, like leaving for the summertime.
But there's no coincidence that it happened the time where we find this church that we really like, and we're struggling because we want to go there, but we also we don't want to leave this other church high and dry.
Yes.
And God literally orchestrated everything that needed to be. And that's how I know that place was for us. Like we built some great relationships there.
Yes.
That was even a place of where somebody, again, in the local church saw me and my husband had only one car and gave us a car.
Not
Like
just a car. They gave us a Denali.
a Denali clean title. I remember bawling in the parking lot, okay, crying like a baby because we had just been having issues with our car.
Yeah.
Nobody knew
No.
that we were having issues. Well, God knew that we were having issues, and He used somebody from the local church.
Shout out to Aaron and Tracy.
Yes, use
Aaron and
somebody from
Tracy.
the local church to bless us, and so that's why I am not giving up hope on the church.
No.
Because I know that it is where God wants us to be.
Right.
It's where our family is where our people are, is where we grow and spiritually. So it's like, it's some great churches out there.
Yeah.
It's some great churches out there. Don't give up on the search.
So steps to getting out your house, getting off of YouTube, and going to a local church. Because most pastors some pastors on YouTube that you watch will say, "Hey, this is good watching us on here, but hey, get your feet, get in a church so you can get in a small group, so you can get in, or they have some kind of way to do virtual. But man, you got to get in with people. Like you have to
something about getting in there, something about
being in the
serving,
house,
using your gifts.
Serving, yeah, there you go.
It's just something about it. I think the first step is pray.
Yes,
Lord, help me. That's simple. It ain't got to be long. Lord, help me. I want to be in church. One thing the Lord will do is answer that prayer.
Yeah.
He going to answer that prayer because that is in His will for you to be in a church. So ask the Lord first to pray and ask Him to help you find a church.
Yep. Secondly, I would say, hey, go on the website and go watch a YouTube. Go watch a YouTube of the church that's close to you or that you've heard about that you wanted to attend or thought about attending. Yeah, go watch their stream. Hey, churches, if you aren't streaming or you're not posting any of your sermons, you are behind the 8 ball.
That's how
you need to step into the 2000s. Like
Do
you
you
really
think
need
they
to.
should make a list? Pray and then make that list. You talked about the non-negotiables earlier.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Yeah, make a list of the non-negotiables. Hey, I want them to have a youth church, but you might be in a season where, hey, I don't have any kids right now. That's not a non-negotiable for me. You don't have to put that on your list.
Right.
But hey, do they have a youth service? Do they have a youth pastor? Do they have outreach? Do
Groups.
they have missions? Do they have groups? Do they allow you to bring coffee in the sanctuary?
Okay, because listen, is at the top. I know it might be a little shallow, and that's fine. But I love that I can take coffee into the sanctuary.
Yeah. That you make your list of non-negotiables.
It's whatever you want.
Yeah.
So don't judge because I feel like he judging me
No,
over
no,
here.
I ain't
Okay,
judging. I don't
because he
drink
don't
coffee,
drink coffee.
I don't drink coffee.
But no, seriously, write down what you need. If you've ever been like, man, I want to go out the country and serve, then see if that church got missions. Like you said, it's all about what. And let me tell you, make your list, but also make room for the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
To guide everything that might not be on your list, but you might be like, I just feel like this is the place for me.
Yeah.
But they might not have everything on your list, and that's okay. If the Lord is leading you to that place, go on and go.
Yeah.
You might be able to start that thing that ain't on your list.
And that's big. That's a good too.
And that just dropped in my spirit. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah, because if it's something that you like most of everything, but there's like one thing, I wish they had a flag ministry. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I wish they had a flag ministry. It might be for you to be able to start that at some point.
Ooh,
don't walk in. So that's another thing. Don't walk in the door. Ooh. If you finally found a church, and it's a smaller church, you say, oh, they don't have this. Don't try to make that church. It's not your church to try to change everything.
That's
like
so good.
Oh, I don't see that y'all don't have this, so I'm going to go ahead and try to start this. Nah, it don't work like it. It don't go
first
like
of all, go there first. Get involved.
Go.
Okay, don't go in there talk
about
about
How about that?
Oh, now
that's
another podcast.
That's another podcast.
Listen, when we talk about that, I get hyped. Let me calm down. That's another time. But I'm just saying, get involved first. Okay, get involved. And don't be walking in the door trying to change stuff.
Be a good servant.
Be a good servant.
Be a good servant.
Man, that's so good, Darnell. Be a good Servant, y'all.
And then after you've made your list, you've prayed about it 1st. You've made your list of non-negotiables. You've watched their online stream, or you've watched some of their content. Then go for a service.
Yeah.
Go in person to
Look
see
for a few, maybe two.
Yeah.
See if what it feel like.
Or go for a Sunday service and a Bible study. Because sometimes, actually, there was one church we loved. Our church didn't have a midweek Bible study. We had small groups, so we went to our small group, and I think our small group was on like a Tuesday, and our service was on Sunday.
Yeah.
And then it was another church, we liked their Bible study. We didn't like their Sunday service,
but we liked their Bible.
But we liked their Bible study, and so we went to their Bible study. It's different churches' Bible study, and it was good.
Yep, it was good. As we were on the search, ask some friends, co-workers.
Yeah.
If you like, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
Ask some people around you that you know that might go to church. Google churches in my area. Like, there's kind of zero excuse at this point because we got social media, we got Google, we got YouTube, so you can find a place. But yeah, I think that's the start. I think that's the start. Praying, write down what you're looking for, and then start the search and continue to pray throughout the whole process. Just ask the Lord to let you know when this is the one.
Yeah. Don't go to 1 and stop. Don't go to 2 and stop, 3 and stop. Don't stop until you find the right one.
Yeah, don't stop.
Relentlessly pursue it.
Like you do a relationship.
Yeah.
Like you do a relationship. Like sometimes it takes time. And again, go in knowing like there's no perfect church. And why there's no perfect church? Because it's full of a bunch of us. Like sinners, imperfect humans, like people that got egos and issues and past traumas and stuff that ain't been dealt with. Like that's what the church like. Just so don't go in thinking everything gonna be perfect because it's not. Because people are in there.
Yeah.
So
100%.
Yeah. I think that was the top. I think that's a good way to get started.
Yeah, that's a good way to get started. If there are some other things that you think would be good ways for people to find a church and faith, put them in the comments or put them on our YouTube. Let us know.
Social media, because I want to repost it. And even if you have a story, if you have a story of a time where you were on the search, like we want to hear about that too.
Yes.
I think that's good for that. We're gonna start having guests on here, y'all. So we gonna be getting people with stories and all that good stuff to share because other people got experiences just like we do. So I'm excited about that.
Yes.
But I think that's a good start. Prayer, make your list of what you're looking for and get to searching and talk to some people around you to see if they got any good recommendations for you.
And churches. If you work in a local church, I'm going to give y'all a couple of quick tips.
Okay, what you got?
1, remember people's name. That stuck out to us. When somebody comes, remember their name.
But let me say this. That's even if you don't work. You can just go to church.
True. If you're
a volunteer or something like that, and you got new people coming, remember their name.
Yeah, if you're a church of less than 30, or you have a regular 50, there's no excuse.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in this meeting full of pastors, and I think it was a Baptist convention meeting. There was this pastor there, and he was just giving his story. And for his entire ministry, Sunday night, he called every visitor.
Come on now. That
came in.
Ooh.
So at first he was making like 2 or 3 calls a night. But then the church grew to be big. He said he would end up making 20 or 30 calls in a night. That's that extra little step. Like
that make me say, this about to be my home church. This pastor called me to check on me.
Yes.
And I know everybody can't do that.
Sunday night after preaching 2 or 3 services.
Right. But that's like,
That's
care.
The next level. Yeah.
I love people. Like I love these people. I want these people to be a part of this thing.
Yes.
You take that. You take that extra step. Yeah,
Yes.
I think if you're a volunteer in any aspect of your church, that is a good thing for you to do. When you see somebody coming in and you meet somebody, remember their name. Yeah. Invite them back. Come back next week, Tiffany. Yeah. Bring your family.
I think another thing One other thing, I'm gonna give y'all these churches. I'm giving you two quick tips. The other thing that stuck out to me that made me love the church that we went to in Arizona, the pastor that was of the new campus opening up, said, "Hey man, let's do coffee this week. I got time this week. You want
and y'all really
Tuesday
did
and
it.
Thursday," and we did it. And he was a man of his word, and he said, "I just want to hear your story."
You waste no time. What we waiting 3 weeks for?
Right.
What we wait? We want you to be a part. We want you and your family to be here. What we waiting 3 weeks for?
Crazy. Like that was just, to me, that was just next level. Like,
Man.
oh man.
You know what though? I love these 2 tips that you just gave because even that last one is almost like it can be used to y'all as Christ followers to invite people. Like, hey, let's do coffee. Let's do dinner. And you build that relationship with somebody. Maybe it's a coworker. Maybe it's somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then inviting them to church as well.
Yeah.
And then inviting them and connecting them to church. I can't remember the percentage. They just gave it last week. But they talked about, it might have been like 80, 90 something percent of non-believers said that they would come to church if somebody invited them.
Yeah.
So like that could even work for people that are just need to invite somebody to church.
Yeah. So those are my little nuggets.
Yeah.
These are the
those
ways
are
that you can find a new church home in faith.
Yeah, those are good.
We're saying that not having a church home is not even it's a non-negotiable. Like
It is.
You got to find.
If you're a Christ follower, you need a home. You need a church home.
You need to be sitting up under somebody or doing life with some people.
You have to be.
Yeah.
It's like you have to.
Yeah.
I mean,
otherwise you're leaning to your own understanding,
which the Bible say, do not lean to your own understanding. Like it really is like a non-negotiable if you're a Christian.
Yeah.
That you're not doing life with other believers.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe it's a home church. I don't know.
Yeah, I believe in home churches too.
Yeah, but you got to be. You can't be by yourself.
Yeah, no.
The enemy is gonna devour you literally if you are continue this walk by yourself. I'm being honest. I'm not even sugarcoating it.
Yeah.
But that was fun.
Yeah.
I hope y'all found a church. Let us know if this blessed y'all and you say, I found a church after I heard that podcast.
Yeah, I would love it. And if you're in Arizona or Atlanta or Tampa, Florida, and you're looking for a church home, we can give you a couple that hopefully you would love, and we'll give you a couple just so you can have a couple options.
If you in Tampa and you visited or you live here and you hear this podcast, you come to my church.
Yes.
You gonna love my church.
Yes.
You gonna sit right next to me in the front row.
There we go.
All right, y'all. We out. This was good.
Yes, it was. Love y'all.
Love y'all.
Peace.